Welcome back to Magical Musings with Frater O.D. Continuing on from the last episode where I was talking about animism, the shamanic current of the primal weave, the next thing that popped up for me was how vital it is to understand imagination in the context of magic. We live in this paradigm of materialism where imagination is downplayed from the time that we are children, and the imagination is beaten down into a sense of non-realness or non-reality, and it is so ingrained within our psyche that it is damn near impossible to dislodge the idea of imagination as being useful. Right? Outside of creative endeavors, imagination is not useful. Where even in the occult, we are obsessed with proof and validation. And at the expense of imagination, more often than not, it feels as though, okay, if I can't reference my experience from this ritual within another book and then cross-reference it with three or four other people, the instance cannot be deemed as real. It will be deemed as fantasy and or imagination. And there's some health to that within the community as well, because there are rampant over fantasizing about certain things. There is rampant wish fulfillment within the occult and with the esoteric circles within magic in general. But the imagination is so key and so vital to doing what we do. We are literally painting pictures, images, weaving threads, weaving tapestries when we are in this space. The imagination is in and of itself one of the most vital pieces of our praxis. And so that's what this next piece follows. And so I'll just get right into it. Behold the notion of imagination. One might discern an innate allusion to the fantastical realm. However, within the sphere of the arcane and mystical practice, imagination is perceived as a formidable force. Contemporary scholars have designated it the imaginal faculty to elucidate its true significance. But in occult and magical circles, this faculty is frequently dubbed the eye of the mind, epitomizing the image, constructing prowess of our consciousness, which transcends the profane materialistic conception of the mind birthed solely from our corporeal cerebrum. In the world of the magician, the primal magician, which is what we're after, the imaginal is a paramount player, which can be illustrated by the well-known correlation between one's inherent ability to envision something and employ this apparition as a propellant toward manifesting it in some manner. Our presence in this tactile realm, effervescing with perpetual activity at its most fundamental degree, comprises diverse elements, fire, air, water, earth, that personify stages of matter, fluctuating between swiftness and a semblance of inertia. But within this sphere, true stasis is an unattainable state, thereby ensuring the imaginal's perpetual motion, ceaselessly informing our most profound desires, aspirations, and trepidations. Carl Jung, as an astute observer, acknowledged the unconscious mind's substantial influence on our lives and asserted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. To harness the imaginal, though, practitioners subject themselves to austere regimens designed to enhance their image-making aptitude. Through the mastery of it and the assimilation of the imaginal beneath their dominion, the magician effectually wields this power for magical operation. An integral facet of this mystical schooling necessitates subsuming particular symbolic vocabularies such as the alphabets, astrological signs, alchemical symbols, tarot's symbolization, the Kabbalistic framework are popular, all within the Western tradition. These symbols and systems equip the magician with the means to intelligibly commune with the imaginal, which demands symbol and image for articulation, sometimes even word. Employing these very artifices, the imaginal connects to the collective unconscious, or what Carl Jung referred to as the domain of the archetypes, comparable to a labyrinth of interconnected waterways nestled within our internal terrain. These conduits enable the flow of imaginal experiences and perceptions. To cultivate this susceptibility to the imaginal realms, adepts engage in assorted methods of examination and communication, such as pathworking, scrying, astral travel, and projection, sometimes even shamanic journeys. These modalities unveil the profundity of shared psychospheres and mine substantial discernments and erudition. Yet receptivity to the imaginal mandates the establishment of a fragile equilibrium between one's unconscious cogitations. Wow, that was a big word I threw in there. And genuine observations. The adroit magician acquires the skill to project images from their mind's eye into the surrounding three-dimensional space, rendering them perceptible in some form. As the magician advances in training, they gain the ability to modify their environs by crafting talismans within the astral realm, summoning forces and energies that resonate with their intentions. This endeavor is not for the faint of heart, bearing in mind that the invocator must also possess the knowledge to dispel summoned entities. The imaginal, albeit central to the notions of transformation, vision work, and invocation in mystical pursuits, ought to be fused with the corporeal domain to effect the sought-after metamorphosis. Blah, 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 blah. Lots of big words. Ultimately, what we're talking about here is reclaiming our faculty of imagination and a reclamation of spirit and mind's dominion. Not everything needs to be delivered through the five senses. We have other senses. That's what most of us are in this game for, is to develop those extra senses to see with the mind's eye, the eye of the mind. Sometimes, even in Neoplatonic thought, the flower of the mind in the first part of the Chaldean oracles, this eye of the mind is capable of seeing into other reality that is not of the material senses, right? And so when I'm talking about the imaginal, the faculty of our imagination, it's about reclaiming the validity of what we imagine. Now, there is fantasia, which is like a term used in Iamblichus's, and I think Plotinus might use the term as well. I can't recall right offhand. Fantasia, which is like a movie of sorts that our mind plays, kind of like the difference between a dream that is like purely just fantastical and a dream that is really speaking to us and prophetic. The images and the faculty to build images within the mind is no less real than the matter that we're talking about within our corporeal self or within the world around us. It is the staging point for manifestation. Our access to the imaginal, to that realm of dream before it becomes manifest, is where the magic happens. And all of our actions on this plane of reality, all the physical gesturing, the hands, the words, the symbols, the cloaks, the daggers, all of the accoutrement, like as you can see behind me, is a way of activating that imaginal part of our lives. The ritual, as silly as it seems at the beginning and how hard it can be for us at the beginning, I know it was for me, to get into it and say, oh my God, what are all these things doing? We have to make that leap of faith, that jump between what we think is real and tangible and what we think is not real and not tangible, what is fantasia, what is fantasy, and reclaim our authority within that space, first for ourselves and then for the world after, because no one creates without visiting the imaginal. Everything begins there, right? It's like blueprint reality for us as magicians. We go there. There are forms available to us, and these forms are the symbols, right? That's how we learn to communicate on that level of reality. The symbols, the words, the imagery, the images of the archetypes are all there, like a great big workshop for the magician to pluck the threads of reality. And in that workshop of the imaginal, if you approach it from the perspective that it isn't real, then you are severely diminishing your ability to influence the astral fluid, the astral light, from coming into manifestation through your rituals, through your casting of a spell. Those things become less effective the more that you doubt the imaginal as being real. The imaginal should be, I used one of my no words, should, but needs to be reflected in the same light as what is made matter in our world. This reality is not preferable or better than this. Both realities are interwoven together. And so when in the imaginal I pluck this string, then it has a corresponding effect on this plane of reality as well, almost like layers upon layers. But before anything is impacted on the layer of matter, the dimension of matter, the realm of matter, pick your term, it must first be influenced in some way, shape, or form on the imaginal plane. And in that sense of reality, the imaginal, it is everything from our daydreaming to shamanic journeying to astral projection to dreaming, lucid dreaming, artistic inspiration, all comes from that realm of our experience. And so reclaiming the imaginal is one of the first tasks of any magician or witch. And if you're struggling with that, I challenge you to focus mostly on that until you have reclaimed the ability to be certain that your imaginal faculty is just as valuable to yourself as is your work within the material plane. Until the imagined table is the same as the table you eat at, the work isn't done. Until the imagined picture in your head of that deity or spirit is as real to you as the statue put in front of you, then your work is not done. The reclamation of the imagination and what we formulate in the eye of our mind has to be as real as what we trust in the hard, knock on wood sense of reality. And so that is the first piece of the work, is understanding that the imaginal is the launching point and the staging point for magic to manifest into matter. Now, you can get caught up in the imaginal too. That there's a piece of this where we don't want to be stuck in that realm, because it's a realm that we're meant to be in at times and then come back down. It's a vacillation, a recession and a procession. We enter these states, we ecstatically bring ourselves to these states through ritual, through various methods, in order to exist in that imaginal realm, and then in a way bring that imaginal realm into matter, or bring our matter into that imaginal realm. It's like almost both at the same time. We bring ourselves up into that state and then bring that imaginal state down with us again as we proceed and participate from that imaginal state into matter. And so ultimately, it's a marriage between the two that we're after. It's a reclamation of the world that was split apart when we decided as a society to split them apart and deny spirit, to deny the imagination. And it's done very early in our lives, telling kids to stop daydreaming, think of serious things. That sort of thing needs to be healed if we are to effectively weave magic. And that's my bit on the imaginal.